Hello again and welcome to the Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a huge thank you to Damien Day for sending in some awesome pictures of his victorious Tiberius 888th Rapid Reaction Force facing down some traitorous knights. I'm glad to report that the Tiberius 888th destroyed the knights in good order. By turn 3. So thank you very much, Damien. Awesome pictures. And actually a very appropriate pictures for what we're going to be talking about today, because you've got a couple of super heavies in there. And this leads me on to today's topic of discussion. Now, before I do, I just want to say if anyone else wants to post anyone wants me to use some pictures of their army, please post them on my Facebook page. There will be a link down in the description below. So, like I was saying, super heavies. Now, as we all know, on the competitive circuit, in the competitive meta, Imperial Knights are doing very well at the moment. After receiving what was believed to be a nerf to the Castellan, actually all I did is move the set pieces around, and now we're finding ourselves facing down 4 knights with some sort of Rusty 17. That's typically what we face down. 3. We've all got so used to facing 3 knight lists that they're not even a problem anymore. 3 knights, pfft, whatever. Now the knight players are like, well, you can handle 3 knights. Can you handle 4 knights? And a lot of the time the answer is no. It is no. But it gets worse because Chaos Knights are incoming, guys, and they look nasty. They look more powerful than Imperial Knights, and we're already struggling with them. Just to give you a bit of a heads up, what's making Chaos Knights look so deadly is the fact that they can take dual Gatling cannons on a single knight, which is by far and away the best option. Because most people take a Gatling cannon and they take the thermal weapon, but they don't really care about the thermal weapon. It's not that good. It's only D6 shots. It's only, strength 8 or 9 on the thermal cannon. It's not got... You'd rather have... Most knight players would rather have an extra 12 Gatling cannon shots, right? Because there's always a rule in sort of 40k, which is more shots is better. More shots is better. Sometimes you can break that rule by really committing to go big or go home. But generally speaking, a lot of competitive players would rather take more low strength shots than few high strength shots, generally speaking. So you're going to start seeing, I reckon, dual Gatling cannon Chaos Knights everywhere. And what's worse is they can use like some sort of power called Demonic Surge. Don't know the exact name of it, but it's possible for them to get a +1 strength, +1 damage on one of the Gatling cannons per knight. So what you're looking at there is 3. They can do this per knight as well. That's not a stratagem. That's an inbuilt ability. So each knight can take D3 mortal wounds, and they can pick a buff. You can take 1 mortal wound, the buff is random, but they're all very good. Or you can take D3 mortal wounds, and you can pick a buff. And one of those buffs is +1 strength, +1 damage to one of the weapons that you have on your knight. And now we're looking at Avenger Gatling cannons. You're looking at 12, strength 7, AP -2, 3 damage shots, which is incredible. It's incredible. They could take 3 knights that could do that, plus they'd have another 12 shots, strength 6, AP -2, 2 damage. So that's what I think is going to start coming our way. 3 double Gatling knights, and then one of the cheap close combat knights running at you. And the Chaos close combat knights are great as well. They're better than the Imperial close combat knights. The only disadvantage I can see thus far of Chaos Knights is they don't really have an ability to heal themselves. That's it. And they only have access to a loyal... I'm going to nickname it the Disloyal 32, which is where they take a Renegades and Heretic list. They can take 3 squads of Guardsmen equivalent, 40 points each. and two traitor commanders, and it's 180 points. So they have to take, if they want to take a CP battery, they can't take the Rusty 17. They've got to take a Disloyal 32. So I don't believe there is such a thing as Dark Mechanicus. I don't believe it, but if there is, please let me know down in the comments below. I know there is fluff-wise, but actual repairing Chaos Knights, I don't think they can do it. Now, one of these other buffs, so that's already bad, and Pure Infantry Guard is one of our strongest formats. That's really going to start chewing through Pure Infantry Guard, because that's 24 shots a turn from those knights, which are going to wound on 2s, and we don't get a save against that. Each one of those, the enemy could kill more than 60 guards in a turn. I would expect them to kill about 60 guards in a turn, which is going to be hard to deal with. Hard. That's just from shooting. Then they start getting into combat, and it's going to start getting messy, guys. It's going to start getting messy quickly. This isn't a Know Thy Foe video, though. This was talking about Imperial Guard Super Heavies, but I'm just laying down a bit of land here, right? The second buff that they can get, which they do from this Demonic Surge, is +1 toughness. Toughness 9 knights. And that's a big problem, because the second best way of dealing with knights as guard, the first way is pure infantry. The second best way is mass Lehman Russes. 10 Lehman Russes, 9 Lehman Russes. And the issue being that a Lehman Russ is now only going to wound a knight on 5s. And as many of you have already put down previous videos before in the comment section, and I have talked about myself, wounding knights on 4s itself is tough. It's why a lot of people I know as guard players, and a lot of guard players in general I know, are switching to Demolisher cannons. Because hell, at least then you can wound on 3s, right? Strength 10. The short range is it's ball ache, though. You can get around it a bit by being Destroying, but it's still not ideal. Limits you in terms of, then missing out on overlapping fields of fire. So, that's what's incoming. They're getting tougher, potentially. They're getting dackerier. That's not the right word. They're getting more dacker. How can we deal with this? Well, we have our own super heavies. And call it pride, maybe arrogance. Pride cometh before the fall. But I believe that anything any other codex can do, Guard can do better. And I believe that our super heavies, now that the Castellan is out of the picture, now that we're looking at double Dacker Knights, I think our super heavies are the counter to Renegade Knights. Okay, bold statement, I know. But this is not based upon Theory Hammer. I am making this video after playing 4 quick games in a row against Johnny's Knights with a super heavy Imperial Guard test army. I have now got 3 super heavies, guys. I am considering purchasing a 4th super heavy. 4 Baneblades. 4 Baneblade chassis. So let me hit you with what my reasoning was behind this. Number 1, a Baneblade costs less than roughly costs less than 3 Lehman Russes. Okay. And by the way, I'm using Baneblade as a catch-all term for guard super heavies. Okay. I will actually talk about specific variants in a moment. But the guard super heavies are, one of them with a couple of sponsons typically is cheaper than a Lehman Russ, but puts out than 3 Lehman Russes, but puts out a better than or equivalent of firepower. Because you've got using using the Baneblade, actual Baneblade as an example, you get 3d6 shots, strength 9, AP minus 3, flat 3 damage. Comparing that to, battle cannon, which is, from three battle cannon missiles. That is 6d6 shots, admittedly, but they're only strength 8, and they're only AP minus 2, and they're only D3 damage. Now, I know I said at the beginning of the video, more shots is often better. That is often true. That is often true, but there is a point to be made, for, especially if we're looking at toughness 9 knights. You're going to need strength 9 at a minimum to reliably get some wounds through on those things. Reliably. Okay. But you've got 3d6 Baneblade cannon shots. Then you've got a Demolisher cannon on there as well. Then you've got 2 las cannons. Then you've got 6 heavy bolters and an auto cannon. I mean, that's... the Russes don't... 3 Russes have an equal amount of heavy bolter shots if you only give them heavy bolters. But they don't have any las cannons. They don't have an auto cannon. And they don't have a Demolisher cannon. So, the Baneblade does put out a lot more firepower. Well, equal firepower. But, it also does not get tagged in close combat. So what we have is but the Russes admittedly do have more wounds. They have 36 wounds to the Baneblade's 26 wounds. Right? Which is significant. That's not to be sniffed at. However, Baneblades can... but that's it, basically. So, they're about equal. They are equal, okay? They're pretty equal, except for the fact that you can't get tagged is a really big deal. And the fact that you do flat 3 damage is a really big deal. Really cannot be overlooked. So this is what I'm thinking. And there's a lot of Baneblade chassis out there. There's lots of variants. So the basic Baneblade itself, I think, is fantastic. You also have the Hellhammer. Hellhammer could be really important because obviously that's strength 10. I don't care if you're Chaos Knight's toughness 9. I'm still wounding you on 3s, mate. That's definitely worth considering. The Shadow Sword. Shadow Sword's a fantastic option. I think double Shadow Swords could be the way to go forward. Those Chaos Knights are going to have a 4-up invuln. They're going to find a way to do it. Fine, fair enough. But every wound you sneak through with a Shadow Sword is 2d6 damage. Even if you only sneak 1 through, you're still looking at 7 damage. That's still enough to knock a quarter of a knight's health away. More than a quarter of a knight's health away. Like 30%. And don't forget, Shadow Swords get +1 to hit against Titanic units and reroll wounds against Titanic units with the main cannon. So you're hitting on 3s with a Shadow Sword. It's 3d3 shots makes it reliable. So that's 6 shots. Hitting on 3s if you're Caden staying still, you should get your 4 hits. You go if the enemy is toughness 9, you're going to wound on 3s re-rolling. But if they go for the actual Daka, you wound them on 2s re-rolling. Your strength 16. Which is if you get 4 wounds through, and then they stop 2 of them statistically, a Shadow Sword is going to do 14 damage to 1 knight from its main gun alone. Then you've got 2 las cannons and 6 heavy bolters as well, and that package comes in at less than 500 points. Now the problem is with taking a single Baneblade is that it is very easy to kill. I said, well, that's not true actually. They're actually, as Johnny and I both learned, they're actually kind of tough. 26 wounds does make a difference. It does. It does make it. 26 wounds is a tough cookie to crack. It means it takes 2 full nights dedicated shooting to kill 1 super heavy. And typically they're only going to have 2 shooty knights. They're going to have 3 shooty knights to close combat 1. So typically they're going to kill 1 Baneblade and be able to damage another. But then if you're taking, as I am about to suggest, a 4 Baneblade list, then by them killing one Baneblade and winning another isn't enough, because in your return fire, I did it. I killed 2 knights with my return fire from 3 Baneblades. Because I had a Shadow Sword and 2 regular Baneblades. And I had overlapping fields of fire and old grudges. And I was able to kill 2 Dominus class knights, which have got 28 wounds each. So, and we played this, we didn't do one game, we played 4 games in a row, and the Baneblades, we tested it in their worst case scenario. And in the worst case scenario, where the Baneblades go second every time, the Baneblades were equal to the knight. It came down to luck. It came down to luck. That's all it came down to. If Johnny had an average to poor turn, average to poor, then he lost the game. If he had a good turn where he was lucky, where his saves were lucky and his shots were lucky, he tended to win. And that's a sign of a good list. If you're able to take an Imperial Guard list that can go equal with one of the top lists out there at the moment, that's a good sign. And let's do some maths hammer here. Let's do some math hammer here for a second. Let's take a double Gatling Knight. Okay? Double Gatling Knight, they've gone first. They've done D3 wounds to themselves, so they get to pick the really horrible Gatling cannon, which they probably would do because they want to hurt me. So each one of those knights, and they've got 3 knights that can do this. Okay, each one of those knights gets 12 shots from the main from the bad Gatling cannon. It's going to hit with 8 of them. Then it's winning on 5s. Even though it's got plus 1 strength, it's winning on 5s. So, I mean, being generous, that's going to be like, what, 5 hits? Not 5, that's going to be 3 wounds? From 8 hits, that should be 3 to 4. It's not going to be 4 wounds, it should be 3 wounds. Now, it's only AP minus 2, which means the Baneblade should get the 5-up save, and the Baneblade should, or Baneblade chassis, should only take 6 damage, should save 1. 6 damage. Okay, then the next Gatling cannon goes. 8 hits, 3 wounds, 2 get through, 4 damage, 10 damage. Okay, do that 2 more times and you get to kill a Baneblade. But you need to do it 2 more times, at least. That doesn't seem so bad. I still got 3 Baneblades left. I might still have 2 Baneblades left and some accoutrement. What happens when those Baneblades shoot back? Gets nasty. 2 Shadow Swords. Or Shadow Sword, 2 regular Baneblades, and then a cheap Bane Hammer. You might be like, why the Bane Hammer? Mordian Glory. But I'll tell you why. Okay? Because the Bane Hammer, you take it as a bare bones Bane Hammer. Bare bones Bane Hammer. Okay? Its cannon, all it has to do is hit the enemy and it halves their movement and charge range. And all you do is you stick that Bane Hammer and you put it against their close combat knight. You just shoot it every turn. And you harvest that movement every turn. And then if it gets close, you charge it. It's not got any Overwatch worth of damn. And you use Crush them. And you hit on 2s. At strength 9. AP minus 2, D3 damage. 9 attacks. That's right, a Baneblade is just as good in close combat as a knight. If you charge and you Crush them. And you should get to charge. You should get to pick that terms of engagement. Because you've got the half movement thing. And it puts the enemy in a very tricky position. Because they have to kill, if they don't kill the Bane Hammer, it's just going to spend the whole game plinking away at the close combat knight, eventually bringing it down. So they either shoot that, or they shoot the Shadow Sword. The Shadow Sword's an obvious knight killer. It's going to do horrible things to them. Okay? But then if they're shooting the Shadow, as we've determined, they've only got enough firepower to kill one Baneblade. So if they shoot the Shadow Sword, they're not shooting the Bane Hammer. And all the Bane Hammer has to do is get a sneaky wound on something. That's all it has to do. It's 3d6 shots. Should do it. Get a sneaky wound on something. Then you can put overlapping fields of fire down. And you've got 2 more Baneblades after that with all the cannons, all the las cannons, all the march cannons, auto cannons, and all the heavy bolters. You start overlapping fields of fire or something. It's going to start getting horrible quickly. So puts your enemy in a catch-22. Do they kill the thing that's going to basically mitigate their distraction kind of effect? Or do they kill the thing which is going to blast one knight a turn badly? But what they're not targeting in both of those situations is the regular Baneblades. And you know what? They're actually the hidden winners of this whole situation. Because they put out so much firepower. Let's say you use one. Let's say you need to use one of the Baneblades to get overlapping fields of fire. So that's how much damage can a Baneblade with Baneblade with overlapping fields of fire do to a Chaos Knight? Well, you get 3d6 shots. I should come to 11 shots. 10.5, 11 shots. Okay? Now you're wounding on 3s. Rerolling them once. So that's going to be at least 6 hits. I mean, that's not even being generous. That's 6 hits. Now you've got options. You could use the Relic of Lost Cadia to get reroll ones to wound. You could use Old Grudges to get reroll wounds. But you know what's even better? You can use Vengeance for Cadia to get reroll all hits and reroll all wounds. So actually, it's more like, I'm thinking 7 hits. I'm thinking 7 hits, wounding on 3s rerollable. You don't even need Old Grudges against Chaos Knights. You don't even need it. It's nice, you don't need it. So wounding on 3s, rerollable. That's 6 wounds. Roughly. They're going to stop half of that. That's 9 damage from the main cannon alone. Then you've got 2 las cannons rerolling hits. Then you've got 2 a Demartia cannon, 2 more strength 9 A for minus 3 d6 damage shots. It's like having 4 las cannons basically. Then you've got 18 heavy bolter shots and an auto cannon. I'm starting to think that one Baneblade is going to seriously shit all over one knight. Might not kill it in one go. But a Baneblade and a half will kill a knight. But it takes 3 knights to kill one Baneblade. Now let's take a look. We've looked at if the Baneblade, if double Gatling cannon. But what about if you're facing Imperial Knights with 1 Gatling cannon and 1 thermal weapon? Okay, fair enough. That's a very common variant. As we've established, the Gatling cannon is going to do 4 wounds to you. Okay, fine. So let's look at the thermal cannon. D6 shots. That's 3.5 shots. That could be 3 to 4 shots. Now if it's 4 shots, they might hit you with 3 of them. Then they're going to wound you with 2 of them. That's 2d6 damage. Now they may, in the first turn, I would be surprised if they're in melter range. They shouldn't be. Okay? They shouldn't be. But we've already been very generous. But we're looking at about 7, 2d6 at the highest is 8. Again, in both cases, 8 wounds. So a thermal one, giving it all the advantage, giving it the extra shot, giving it 3 wounds, giving it melter range, 2d6 at the highest is rough. We're looking at 8 damage, plus the 4 damage. We're looking at 12 damage. Giving it every advantage we can. We're looking at 12 damage. That's not enough to kill a Baneblade. Okay? It's not enough. It's not enough to kill half a Baneblade. It's just, you need, again, they need to dedicate at least 2 and a bit Imperial Knights to killing one of your Baneblades. They've not got enough to remove 2 Baneblades in 1 turn. And then your 3 turn round and start going nuts on them. So I'm in a competitive competitive Warhammer chat, and I know most Chaos players are looking at going Chaos Knights now. Most Imperial Knight players are thinking of just using Chaos Knights, not even converting. Just, these are Chaos Knights now, double Gatling Chaos Knights. So that's looking really. Now the weakness of the list obviously is you don't really have a lot of OBSEC. But you can play 4 Baneblades as taking things to the extreme. It's a lot of firepower, but you're not going to win any missions. Well, you're not going to win the first couple of turns. You're going to have to spend on killing things. And after that, you can drive around, ramming into whatever they've got left and shooting it, whatever. you could scale it down, and you could take 3 Baneblades and then about 100 infantry, something like that. Because you could take 3 Baneblades, the 502 points each. That's with the 2 las cannons and 4 extra heavy bolters. You take 3 of them. You could take a shadow sword. They're cheaper if you want. They're just about 20 points cheaper, 16 points cheaper. So you could take a shadow sword instead. And then, you know, you've got two Baneblades, a shadow sword, and then you've got a load of other stuff which can run around doing some damage, or capping objectives. It's up to you, but I think 3 Baneblades is good. I think 3 Baneblades is good, and I think it's going to be anti-meta. This is what I'm trying to get across. It's anti-meta. But so there you go, guys. What do you think? What do you think? I mean, I play tested this where the Baneblades went second, and they won half the time. And that was against knights which were kind of good at killing them. I mean, you had a Castellan in there. That Volcano Lance is just horrible. But you don't really face Castellans anymore in the competitive scene. You know? You don't really face them. I was facing a Valiant as well. Now, some of you say, oh, the Valiants... Yeah. Well, you do see them. And actually, the Valiant with Traitor's Pyre, it's a 2 damage flamer, but it gets to reroll all wounds. Which is really 3d6, AP minus 2. It's nasty. It's very, very nasty, and the harpoon as well. And don't forget, each one of those things has got 4 melter guns on them as well, and shield breaker missiles, which ignore my armor. So they're actually Castellans were the reason people stopped taking Baneblades. Now Castellans are out of the picture. Are Baneblades back in the picture? I think they are. I think this is very anti-meta. I'm not sure whether... honestly, 4 Baneblades is good, but it's very limited by the mission, okay? Probably you want to be looking at 3 Baneblades and some accompanying stuff, okay? Because if you face 3 Baneblades... If you face regular Chaos Knights, you'll lose one of your Baneblades, but then you should start being able to batter their knights, really badly batter their knights with the remaining 2 Baneblades, and thinking of how you could do it. You could play the mind games. You could take a shadow sword and 2 Baneblades, and they were always going to kill that shadow sword first. But really, that's not a good idea, because then 2 Baneblades will kill a knight quite easily, and then you've got other stuff. You can take Pask. Or you can take a tank commander with a Hammer of Sunderance, and then some accompanying infantry for objective, like a loyal, maybe not 32, but 52. You can start putting some other bits and bobs in there. What do you guys think? That's the key. What do you guys think? I would really like to know, what do you think is the ideal ratio of Baneblades? Is 4 too many? Is 3 not enough? Is it maybe like 2, right? Because they're going to kill 1, but 2 Baneblades is 1,000 points. You can fit a lot of stuff in 1,000 points of guard, and if you have 2 Baneblades, it's a distraction kind of effect. I don't know. I think 1 Baneblade or 3 or 4. I think 1 as you know exactly what they're going to shoot at turn 1, okay, and then you have a load of Lehman Russes. That could work really, really well. That could work really, really well. What do you guys think? Please leave lots of comments. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.